Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This will be a short updated tutorial video for the new SG.Quant, which stands for Sacred Geometry. It's replacing the old version 1 of the free indicator that I offer on my channel, the Sacred Geometry indicator. So let's dive right into it. Now, one thing I want to mention, because I forgot to mention this in previous videos, is if you have this indicator, which by the way is free, and I'll link it in the description below, like I do always do in the videos, you can pick it up for free. If you load any of my indicators, or for that matter, any indicator on your chart, and let's add it right now. So we have SG.Quant here. If you have it favored, then you have it here in your list. If you add this to the chart, and as you can see, this chart gets completely squished like this, that's probably because you have down here at the right corner of your TradingView chart, you have a few options. You need to turn this on, scale price chart only. It's very important, right? And that fixes the issue. It makes it so that when you're on logarithmic or any chart for that matter, it only scales the price chart and not the chart itself. So if you have any drawings that are like long historical lines or MAs or something along those lines that go way far back, then if you have this option off, which I think is off by default, then it will just completely distort your chart. So I recommend turning this on and just never turning it off again, because it's in my opinion a pretty useless option if you have this off. So yeah, with that out of the way, if you have any of my indicators and the chart gets squished, just do that and then it should be fixed. I just noticed while doing that I need to fix this, so I'll do this in the next update. I think these go way into below 0, so yeah, it's way too far down. I'll fix that in a future update. So let's dive right into it. Hopefully this one will be pretty short, because I kind of simplified stuff a lot for you guys. Right, so these are all the settings that we have. We have a color theme with 4 colors. There's a little information box here which tells you from left to right, as you can see on the screen, in the tooltip. Color 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1 is monochrome, 2 is a highlight color, and then 3 is the bearish or down color, and 4 is your bullish or up color. Right, so there you go. Should be pretty self-explanatory. We have a color theme opacity, and it has a little description box that says adjust opacity of all transparent objects, right? So I've curated the transparency between all the different elements on each indicator to kind of make them as visually clear and intuitive as possible. I spent many hundreds of hours testing different variations. So the opacity itself relative to each object is hard-coded basically, but if for whatever reason you want to increase the opacity, then you have an option here to just add a bit more transparency, or a bit more opacity actually, to kind of make things a little bit thicker, right? So if I just go to 20%, you'll see that all the waves will just kind of pop more in color, right? Depending on which background color you have, you might want to use this, right? I usually just have it on default, but yeah, I can actually increase it a little bit, so on the video it's probably a bit easier for you guys to see. Right, so when you load the indicator, you basically have your color theme options. This is pretty standard across all the 5 indicators that I have. There's 1 or 2 of them that have like a few more colors, but yeah, I will cover that in their respective videos. But overall, the idea is the same. You have a color theme, you have an opacity, and then some other style options, as you can see in the style category. Each indicator also has a version number now here on the right-hand side of the style section. So you can keep track of what the latest version is, and if you indeed have the latest one or not. Right, so, and then for this one, there's only one setting, which makes you choose between which mode you wanna run. So either the wave, the grid, or both at the same time. If you're familiar with version 1, then you know what these things mean. And it by default loads the wave, because it's the most famous one, let's say. Right, so let's dive into it. In principle, the wave still functions the same way. The only difference is that I've added, as you can see it used to have only 6 bands, so 3 above and 3 below. But I've now added 3 exponential waves on top of those on either side. So it has now even more waves. And how it used to work in version 1 is that it loaded the daily time frame wave, and that was static across all lower time frames. So the wave itself would not shift between different times. It would always display the same wave, which was the daily wave, basically, no matter if you were on the 4 hour or the 1 hour or whatever. And that's now different. Now the wave should function more or less equally on each time frame, but adjust to the time frame itself. So right now we're on the daily. As you can see, the wave looks like a certain size. But if we switch to the 1 hour, the wave will look completely different now, right? And it's adjusting to the time frame itself, right? So now it's no longer the static daily wave, essentially. Yeah, so if we just kind of, go over again like what the wave essentially does, you have a main frequency, which is the middle black line. Basically, that's kind of like the main moving average, if you will. And then it creates standard deviations above those and below those normal ones. And then now it has the exponential ones as well, right? And as you can see, price just kind of moves between them. You can think of them kind of similar to Bollinger Bands, I guess. It's not the same, but it kind of operates in a similar way, I suppose. Yeah, and you can just see price bounce between these different levels, right? So if price is like here in the lower part of the wave, then it's probably a good area to look for maybe buying, and then obviously the opposite if it's in the higher section of the band, right? Over here, you can see that it would have been a pretty decent spot to sell, right? So we just apply these principles the same way on every time frame now, right? So if we go to the 4 hour, for example, you'll see that it looks a little bit different. But yeah, on the 4 hour, this move down, touched the lowest band and then reversed, and yeah, you get a little bit more detail per time frame, since it's no longer a static daily wave. But the principles are still the same. It's buy when it's in the lower part and sell when it's in the higher part. That's just the gist of it. Nothing too complicated. And yeah, you can do this all the way down to the 5 minute, basically. There it is. Yeah. Right. So if we zoom out a little bit and we check the latest downtrend, we can see that it's interacting with the same kind of idea in the lower part, and then same goes for the higher parts, right? So yeah, just have a look see, I guess. See if this is something that suits your trading style. If you're somebody that trades moving averages and stuff like that, then this might be a useful tool for you, right? It kind of gives you different levels to look out for, and potentially find some nice entries. If you combine it with your trading strategy that allows you to find entries in confluence with these levels, basically, right? So the exponential ones, you don't really see them get hit that often, but it does happen from time to time. Like you can see that these kind of volatile moves on the lower time frames, they do get interacted with, where it actually manages to fall outside of the first 3 purple bands, right? And then yeah, you can kind of have some levels to look out for bounces and stuff around those. And let's find maybe a place where it does this on the opposite side. There you go. Right. So in the case of this see, where was this? This is a Bitcoin breakout around 50K, right? We had a long consolidation around 50K, which was a kind of a divergent area into the higher green band here. And then, yeah, once it kind of broke out, it went so hard, so fast that it just completely squished the wave, essentially, because you can see the wave here getting completely compressed. And then it just basically went vertical straight to the first exponential band, where it kind of consolidated again. And yeah, you get the idea, right? So you can do this now on any time frame that you want, up until, I think, the weekly. Yes. Yeah, so in the weekly, you can see it even going, you know, in the full Bitcoin bull cycles tend to even at some point kind of go beyond exponential waves, basically. But yeah, as the diminishing returns settle in, I suppose that it's not going to be that common anymore. As you can see, the last Bitcoin cycle top was right in that exponential band. So yeah, the exponential bands, they're there for like specific ultra violent kind of bull cycle or bear, you know, dumps that just kind of tend to exceed the wave. So they're not that common, but they might be useful in some scenarios. Yeah, I think it works the best on crypto assets because of the way they move. I think on ES or TradFi, they're not as clean. It kind of depends on the charts, I suppose. But yeah, they still work. This is a weekly. Actually, doesn't look all that bad. You can see that's a nice interaction with the lower band that gave a pretty decent opportunity. There's probably divergences and stuff. So yeah, if you confluence this with other factors, then you can probably find some nice entries based on this thing. Let's see if what about the daily? Yeah, the daily looks quite different. But yeah, it's just a very easy, simple tool. You can pick it up for free and just have a play around with it and see if you like it. And if it works for you, then great. If it doesn't, then yeah, maybe look for something else. Right, so with that out of the way, that's the sacred geometry wave, just with some slight improvements compared to the old version. We can then switch it to the grid mode. Those of you familiar with the older version know what the horizontal grid, where it comes from. I'm not really going to go over that again. But yeah, these are basically just levels based on sacred numerology, numbers, number correlations and stuff. And you can load these up on any chart that you want. And you will have these bands, and then these dashed lines are the midpoint between the bands and the midpoint between two bands, basically, right? Yeah, you can do this on any chart that you want. And the change that I made is that it now no longer loads the entire chart full of these bands, because version 1 used to like load up a lot of them that were like historical levels that weren't really needed if you're just kind of focused on the local area. So now what it does, it's you can see that it loads 3 bands basically, and then one extra that's like a slightly fainter one, and then one above it. But these adjust automatically depending on where price is in relation to these bands, right? So if price starts to go down, then these bands will all 5 of them will shift down with price and upwards. Right? So if we, let's say, put the replay tool somewhere here, the band should have a different location. Yeah, see, there you go. Right. So these 5 bands should more or less always be around the area where price is trading at the time. They no longer load like tons of them that are unnecessary. Just a little bit more efficient compared to version 1. And yeah, these levels, these bands, these lines, they aren't really anchored to any sort of price action at all. They just are based on specific numbers. And you can load those on any chart. So if we go, to example, to the Pepe chart, which is a chart that really doesn't have that much history, you can see that they load up just perfectly fine. And yeah, they still get respected quite well. We switch this to candles, we can probably see it a little bit better, right? So yeah, even if the chart is like, what is it, not about a year old, there's about a year of history here, you can see that yeah, it's, you know, it rejects the middle of this band. After this massive pump, it's again kind of rejecting the middle here. It then goes to the middle of this band, and yeah, it tries to reclaim, fail, bounces off this mid-range here, which is essentially a 1-to-1 from here to there, right? The distance between this and this is the same, right? So from this line to this line is essentially a 1-to-1. Yeah, and then you can see it holds the mid-range of the band and then pumps to the next one, and so on and so on and so on, right? Yeah, so it's just horizontal range trading essentially, but with levels that you can populate anywhere, any chart, anytime. Personally, I find them the most useful on crypto charts with the most history. So that would be Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin, which are like basically the 3 OG coins that have been around the longest. Something like LTC BTC, for example, is a chart that's quite interesting because it's been mostly in a downtrend over time. But yeah, these levels are still quite interesting, right? You can see that you know, they seem to be respected. So yeah, it works on Bitcoin pairs and USD pairs. But yeah, all of you that are familiar with the previous version kind of know how this works. So yeah, have a play around with it, and it should be much faster loading now because it's so much more efficient with the drawings. The only thing that's missing since the old version is the vertical part of the grid, which I temporarily just didn't include. I don't think many people were using it, to be honest. But I can always include it back if you guys you know, request it. I can always build it back. That's no problem. So let me know if that's the case, and then I will add it back into a next update. Right, so that's pretty much it. And yeah, obviously you can have them both at the same time if you want. But I'm a little bit busy. You can maybe change the color of the bands to something that's like a bit more to mix and match the colors a little bit better. But yeah, if you want, you can do this, right? You can have them both at the same time. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That covers all the changes, and I think that will be this video. Next up, I will probably be doing v2.01, the replacement of overlay version 2.0. v2.01 is basically version 3. But yeah, with the rebranding that I covered in the previous announcement video, that explains as to what these names mean and where it comes from. And yeah, so I'm gonna sign off here and see you guys in the next video.